Do you see what's going on here? I look like I'm in those like Iraqi hostage videos.
Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog Fantasy. Use code MAYO at Underdog Fantasy right now and get yourself some special offers. I mean, or if you just wait till the 9th. When is the 9th? The 9th is in 2 days from now. You wait till Thursday, and then you can get a potential deposit bonus of up to $250 if you're someone who really wants to go in and, make a real deposit on Underdog Fantasy. Using code MAYO will unlock that $250 bonus, and you'll get for new customers, you're going to get a free square for the PGA Championship as well, so you probably want to utilize that. All right, smash like, sub to the channel while you're here. If you missed the research show, shame on you. It's already out, as is the pick show and recap that I did with Jeff. But we're talking best bets for the the Wells Fargo Championship, the final year of the Wells Fargo Championship. It'll be like the Quail Hollow Classic presented by Cognizant, or something like that next year. We'll see what the title sponsor ends up going to. And the Myrtle Beach Classic, which has no sponsor unless Myrtle Beach is the sponsor. Ben and Byron on the line with me to do the gold, the silver, and the bronze. Ben, you're having a rough time this morning, it looks like.
Do you see what's going on here? I look like I'm in those like Iraqi hostage videos. And I honestly kind of feel like that because I have been jettisoned from my apartment. I'm at a buddy's house. Appreciate that. They put a hole through my roof, hole through my ceiling, fixing the roof. And now I'm here in the dark. Gonna mention Alex Noren. It's just not good. It's not a good scene here. I'm excited to see you both, but I'm very salty. I'm not gonna lie.
Salty Ben? Salty Ben with the big winning picks?
Yeah, salty Ben with the winning picks. That's what we're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to rally. There's no way around it.
Well, you're going to need to win some money this week. We lost at the Derby, so we'll win money this week,
Yes.
and then you can afford to fix the hole in your roof.
Now it gets serious. So we're playing for more than just street cred. We're playing for a roof over my head.
Byron from rotoballer.com and co-host of the Fantasy Golf Degenerates. You guys dropped your show on Monday evening. You guys have been cleaning up on the pick'em for Underdog, by the way.
Oh, yeah. And Kenny has just been cleaning up in general. I mean, he's basically running harder than the hostages that are holding Rasa over there. We're going to need a newspaper from you, Ben, just to make sure everything's okay. Buddy, but feel for you, bud. It's been fun with Kenny. It's been a blast. As you can see, I've upgraded the camera, got some new lighting going on now. Unfortunately, Ben took a hit on his side of things there, but happy to be here.
Yeah, it's a zero-sum game. For everything that Ben loses, you gain, I think.
I got Shang Tsung'd. Yeah, you took my soul and apparently my camera. So I respect that, though. At least someone is ready to roll today.
Just off the hop, I wanted to ask you about Myrtle Beach, Byron. Do you have any sense of how this course is going to play?
No idea, Pat. I just feel like Daniel Berger should stand a pretty good chance out there. I feel like I've heard a lot of water surrounds. Kind of like, I want to say, I started with no idea, and then I want to say Liberty National or PGA National. Just that's the kind of vibes I'm getting. What do you think?
I have no idea because the first time, I just don't think that they're going to gear it up to be a super difficult test because it's an alternate field event, Ben.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I still think there's some qualities that are going to kind of translate through. But there's also an unknown. And I like that because if you have a narrative or you have a kind of an angle, you can press that angle. And if it's not baked in, now you've created a lot of value for yourself.
So this is something that I wanted to talk about with the alternate field events. From what we've seen this year, and it's popped up from time to time as well, that Bryce Garnett wins one, Billy Horschel wins one, guys that have previously won on tour, but guys that you would consider veterans on the PGA Tour who have been there, they've closed out tournaments, they've been in big spots. Obviously, Billy Horschel on a much different level than Bryce Garnett, but it's weird to see a player of the caliber of Billy Horschel in one of those fields, even if he wasn't a downturn in his career. He's 2 years removed from winning a WGC match play. He won at Wentworth. The guy's a fantastic golfer. He has probably close to, he must be bordering on 10 PGA Tour wins at this point. Then he goes into Puerto Rico and knocks that one out. So the way that I'm thinking about it here, that you have all these guys at the top. I guess Berger is a proven winner. I just don't want to bet Berger as the co-favorite in a field. We've seen EVR win. But if it's going to be these older type grinders that nothing really phases them too much, I was thinking someone like Ryan Moore this week, Ben.
I mean, if there was ever a week to take some shots on some of those guys, these are the events that they get it done. I mean, I think you go either way. Like I'm assuming people will go to like Royo or Smalley or some of these guys that you want to bet, but you're not sure what type of event they fit into. So I'm all about embracing some of those type of guys in these type of fields.
What do you make of it? Do you think there's any merit to my very small sample judgment, Byron, of what happens in these alternate events?
Well, yeah, I feel like you can show up as that old guy and just feel like an alpha that you've never been for a while and just really take advantage of the situations where a lot of these guys, like Ben Coles, might find themselves in situations where they completely out of their depth and just, rattled to balls deep. So I would not be shocked if someone impressive wins this thing again. It's also not like the complete alternate event that we typically get. I feel like they're a bit stronger than normal since the signature event started.
I would tend to agree because like my eyes go to I bet on Lauer to win this tournament at 45-1. And then I'm thinking, I like Kevin Yu. I bet on Kevin Yu last week. I bet on Andrew Novak last week. Should I just keep riding these guys? And I might end up doing that. But even someone like Matt Wallace comes in at 32-1. Hostler's also 32-1. Ben Griffin's 27. We've seen Matt Wallace both compete really well in weak field tournaments. He won one of these alternate events last year or 2 years ago, whenever the hell it was. He's won like mid-leveling Euro events in the past. Maybe even and Thirsty Lawrence is in this field too. He's having a terrible season. Jorge Campillo is in the field too. Another guy who's won some like middling Euro events. That my eyes kind of go towards those guys over guys that I think are going to break out in the future. Even someone like Thorbjorn Olesen at 50. Like, do I think that I know he's a better player than Ben Griffin, and he's twice the odds. Anyway, that's where
he's been playing way worse than Griffin, though. That's the thing. It's these DP World Tour guys, Pat, that come over here and they're immaculate golfers and then just suck it up. We need to have a word with them. They need to tell us if they're going to suck or not, because it's been driving me nuts with Ryan Fox on my fantasy team and multiple other areas too.
Yeah, Ryan Fox has been destroying me. Like Valimaki has shown up a few times. We haven't really seen much from Bobby Mack or Thorbjorn, but like Højgaard has popped a whole bunch of times. Matthew Pavon comes out and gets a win at Torrey Pines. It's never the guys that you think, Ben, from the Euro Tour that come over and do well, it seems.
Yeah, it's always a mystery, and there's always that balance of like, do you want a guy who's been in the thick of it on Sundays over there, has experience doing that, or do you want someone who's been over here but making cuts and grinding? And I tend to agree that I like guys when they've been in contention. They kind of know what to do. It's just at times really difficult to nail down who that could be from the Euros. Yeah,
so maybe the goal this week is we'll bet Ryan Moore, Shez Reavie, and your guy who snuck into this tournament on the number, Ben, Bill Haas. Who was like he was kind of like in it at Puerto Rico.
Of course. When he shows up, he's ready to play. So got to back Bill Haas.
Anyway, that's my spiel about Myrtle Beach. Let's get into the best bets. The gold selections for me, I'm going to the top 20 market to start off with, and someone who either nails this. I mean, I should probably go to the top 10 market with it, to be perfectly honest, but it's even money right now, plus 100 for a top 24, Sahith Theegala, who I think you can make I haven't finalized my betting card yet, but I think the best number that I'm seeing on him right now is 25-1. Maybe you can eke out a 28, which seems low compared to some of the. I should get a 30 on him right now. I might actually end up going to bet that, but this has been a spot for younger players, breakthrough players throughout the year, and I think that he just kind of fits everything that you'd want. He can go full send with the driver. It's not like people hit fairways here anyway. Like that is one very specific path for shorter hitters to have success at Quail Hollow, is just hit every single fairway and mash your long iron. Sort of the Molinari, Joel Damon, Denny McCarthy, Colin Morikawa at the very highest end way to get some birdies at this course and compete. Abe Answer was another one who came second to Rory one year who would have that strategy. It'd be the Corey Connors strategy this week, but that's a very difficult strategy when you have guys that can hit it anywhere on the course that they want, and the rough isn't so penal that it's really going to cost him anything. Like, I think that Wyndham Clark ended up hitting 41% of his fairways last year. It really made no difference to him, and he was able to get to minus 19 for a winning score and end up winning by 3. If you just go full send off the tee with Theegala this week and just let the rest of his game do the work. The irons can be spotty from time to time. That's okay. Immaculate short game. He's been a fantastic putter. These are not that challenging of greens. They're huge, so you might 3-putt from time to time, but we've seen a lot of very poor putters do well here. And imagine what a great putter can do here. So Theegala is on my short list for outright win, but as a top 20 and even money, Ben, this is the range that he's just kind of been in for all season.
I get it. Yeah. I mean, he's been churning it out. You mentioned the skill set and what you want at Quail Hollow. We know what this course does. It's hard to push back on that. I actually thought the top 20 market was, I don't want to say loaded, but there was a handful of names that I had on the list that I was pretty comfortable with.
Well, is one of them your gold pick?
It is my gold pick. It's Alex Noren in the top 20 market at plus 130. Like I said, it can't get any worse for me, so I feel a lot more comfortable saying this now. I'm freed up to just back him. He's been a top 20 machine. I think we've seen it. The game has come along. Had a chance there, a small one, but could have snuck in last week and was not able to get it done, but he still played fantastic, gained across the board. I don't think Quail Hollow's the perfect fit, but I also think at plus 130 in this field, Noren's just going to keep churning him out, and he's crafty around the green. Off the tee's been better. I'm getting plus money. I feel good about it. I'm really just going to stick with Noren and hope that he keeps paying dividends, even if he's not obviously cashing outright tickets.
You always do this, and I think Xander is sort of the biggest example of it, Byron, about the players that people bet on every single week to win outright, but then you start to look at their top 10 markets and where they're such profitable players in the top 10 market, yet not at all in the outright market. Is there a better example of that from like the mid-tier of player than Alex Noren?
I was going to say, I'm not sure who's got a worse ceiling. Is it Alex Noren or Ben Rasa? Because I would bet Alex Noren top 20 all day. I would never touch an outright slip with him at all. So, yes, I think he's won $8 over the last 12 months in the top 10 market and $165 in the T20 market. So that's where to go with Alex Noren. Love, love, love it. You mentioned Xander Schauffele, T10 plus money, even money at Bet365. He's doing it 50% of the time. We're going to Quail Hollow. I mean, it's his hollowed ground, essentially, and it's just a no-brainer to me. I got it at plus 115 when it came out, so I'd still go back at plus 100, ties paid in full at Bet365, and to just loop back on your Sahith Theegala take there, Pat, 40-1 over at Bet365 if you bet it each way 3 places. Sahith's had 2 second-place finishes this year already. So I'm in on that, by the way, and I'm a big fan of Sahith this week.
Yeah, I was looking at that. The problem that I have with it is that now I have to double my bet in order to get that top 3 to go along with him. I mean, I don't mind it, but at the same time, if I could just bet him outright at 30-1, I'm feeling pretty good about that too. I don't even know what would the metrics tell you about that in terms of like an EV type bet.
Well, so far I've bet this bet and I've had Higo and Fox finish 4th, and then I had Benny on finish 4th last week. So it's working out wonderfully so far. I'll get back to you maybe this week and see hopefully Sahith can win it and just take care of business for us in general. But I've enjoyed it because, I mean, if you take a look at Sahith, he's 25-1 in some spots. If you can get him 40-1, it's almost double your outright stake anyway. And you can get that T3 insurance. I don't know. I feel like it's a really good idea. I'm still going to figure it out, but
yeah, I think the more we've talked about this, that I'm going to end up betting Theegala this week because I with the rest of the losers that I have on my card, I have no one lower than 30-1. The market has really shifted because I mean we should probably talk about it that Ludvig ended up WDing from this event. Do you worry about him for next week, Byron, or is this sort of a preventative measure? That's how I kind of saw, because I bet Zalatoris at 55 when it opened, because he withdrew last week with a back injury. But was it like a real back injury, or did he just not want to play 3 weeks in a row?
Yeah, and it would have been 6 weeks on the trot had he finished the PGA Championship for Will Zalatoris. So that scheduling conflict, I don't know who did his schedule. I don't think the back's as bad as we think. So love that, Pat, for Zali. Who's the other guy with the knee? It's Ludvig. Oof, I don't know. The thing about golf betting is like it needs to get to the NFL level at some point, right? Where we can really get a good feel for this. It's just like, oh, my back flared up, but my scheduler flared up the worst. So I'm going to have a back flare up instead and, kind of skip this tournament. So I think these guys take precautionary measures before these big events. I think majors are just their number one priority. So I think he's just being careful. Hopefully.
That's what I would think of it too. But Ben, it'd be very difficult to get to the point, and I've made mention of this over the years, that when you have someone like Hideki, and Hideki's hurt just every single week, and then we panic about it, and then sometimes it's a problem, sometimes it's not. When you have to have self-reporting, how can we ever really know? And remember Scotty's neck at the Players? The guy had Knight the Roxbury syndrome, was going to quit the tournament, and then he didn't make a bogey for 45 holes or something like that. It doesn't seem to matter sometimes.
It's so hard to know what's real and what's not. And even when guys withdraw, sometimes they say I've been battling a knee injury for 3 months. It's like, wait, what? I've been betting this guy. It's really tough to know. I tend to think around majors, the slightest bump in the road, these guys say, let me just optimize for the major. And if my knee's not 100%, I'll make it 100%. That's just kind of the stance I take. And I don't know how you really do it any differently, to be honest.
Do we know if we're getting strokes?
Basically, what?
Yeah. Are we getting strokes gain data, Byron? Do you know, for Myrtle Beach? Because I'm going to guess that we don't.
Oh, please. I mean, what? We had nothing for the Zurich, Pat. So, literally worse than Ben's situation for the Zurich. And it's just now an alternate event. I mean, but did we get any for Billy's win? I feel like. I don't know. Hopefully. I'm not setting my expectations either.
I was just trying to figure out that if I could try to find a bet where I don't have to bet on Lonto Griffin to come inside the top 40 or the top 30. I could just bet him to have more than 2.5 strokes on approach, and he'll do that. And then maybe parlay that with, I don't know, -5 or more strokes putting. And I feel like I would be a big winner in that market when it came down to it. But I'm trying to look at Higo here right now. Nah, it was not good. It's been a while.
Where's that market at, Pat? Is that Underdog?
No, that's not a real market.
Or is that just an imaginary market? I was going to say, that's some sick stuff. I would love that stuff.
Well, yeah, who wouldn't love that? That would be I think that would be too optimal for us. They don't want to introduce that to the market.
No. That would be so much fun. Betting strokes gained metrics. That would be next level degeneracy, man. That would be so much fun. I'd be down the rabbit hole there.
Well, the move would be when you get to Bay Hill or PGA National, just take whoever the best players are in the field and bet them massively under, off the tee or something like that. Scotty puts 1 in the water. All of a sudden his metrics are thrown off for the entire round and you end up being a big winner. Although he never does that.
Pat, You've cornered the market already, and it hasn't even come out. So I doubt it's coming. So
yeah,
thanks for that one.
If someone as stupid as me can try to figure out the optimal strategy within 10 seconds of creating a market, likely not going to ever see the light of day, I think.
Yeah, facts.
Silver picks for the week. Byron, you want to lead us off?
Sure. I'm going to go ahead and throw out a Tom Hoagie wherever you can find him. I'm thinking right now he's plus 140 over at Bet365. You can get him at plus 190. It's pretty much a toss-up between the dead heats at DK and 365 paying the ties in full. You can go either route there. With the plus money side, I'd probably lean towards the ties paid in full a bit more. If you're looking for Xander's side, the closer to plus money, the less you need those dead heats in your life. So I don't mind Tom Hoagie. He's shown that he's been just top 20 beast the last little while. It's been really, really impressive to see him play some good golf. And it's shown he showed up at the Cognizant where he's never played well and finished inside the cut there. He makes these appearances at these venues nowadays where he's not necessarily played the best golf, but he's playing so well right now. It's just a no-brainer to go to him in this top 20 market. He's been gaining $370 last 12 months. And that wasn't profitable entering the year. It's all come from this year. It's been really impressive from Tom Hoagie.
He lost, listen to my voice here. He lost 4.5 strokes putting last week, which has been sort of an outlier for him. It's usually the chipping that ends up being the big Tom Hoagie problem, but it was nice to see him get back. It's funny that he has a T41 in a week when everyone bet him to win, myself excluded. I jumped off the Hoagie train. I'm just circling Colonial for him. And go get your win at Colonial. We'll go on our way. We'll shake hands at the end. It might be 20-1. I don't care. I'm going to be in a Tom Hoagie once we get to the Charles Schwab Challenge, which is in... I don't know, 3 weeks or something like that. Maybe, knowing my luck, he's not even going to play in that stupid tournament because he's too good now. But 2.5 strokes off the tee, 4 strokes on approach, lost 4.5 on the greens. I can't remember a time, Ben, where a player that I like had a very poor result, but I was super encouraged by what he did.
Yeah, you get that occasionally. I'd say it's the exception to the rule where it's just like you're more confident it's an outlier. You know, it's not up, something flared up. It's just like that is not what we've seen. And I think that could, in some ways, help us in the long run. You know, it could suppress a number. It could set us up for an opening. And it is a macro game with some of these guys. You don't have to be right every week. You can maximize where you are right. So I get that with Hoagie. And he certainly played some really quality golf throughout the year.
Do you have a silver pick?
I do, and this may be bad etiquette, but I'm going to have to say I had 3 things written down. Xander top 10 at straight even money. Byron nailed it. I love that pick. Consistent off the tee. Obviously, you know, I know he's got to start winning majors and whatnot, but the results have been there. You know, he was 8th at the Masters, 2nd at the Players, 5th at Valspar. You know, he putted his way into the top 20 at Heritage, but Heritage is such a, you know, that's such a weird course. That's nothing like Quail Hollow. This is primed for Xander. He's sub 10-1 in the outright market, and I think he should be. I know Rory is Rory, but still, I love everything about Xander here. I wanted exposure to him, and to get, you know, straight double your money here, you know, plus 100. I love that spot. So I'm right in line with that. That is one of my favorite plays of the whole week.
Yeah. How popular do you think he's going to be on DraftKings?
Pretty popular. Because it's, well, we don't have the 5,000 guys anymore. I guess that helps a little bit.
I'd say Wyndham will be way more popular than Xander, just because of the $1,000 difference.
Okay, well, like, yeah, okay, there's $1,000 difference, so sure. But let's say it's Xander versus Rory, who are within $300 of each other as the 2 favorites in this tournament. Do you think it ends up being Rory or Xander?
Most popular is Xander for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Even Rory coming off a win?
What, a happy meal win with Shane Lowry at the Zurich? Yeah, sure. Please, let's throw that all the way up in the ownership rankings there.
Well, you got Rory. He gets a half win for the Zurich. He won in Dubai earlier this year. So how many real wins does that count for?
1.5.
Yeah, 1.5. Yeah, I thought the tournament in Dubai was actually quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
It's just, yeah.
Anyway, so Xander top 10. Where do I want to go with my pick here? Do I want to go a little bit off the board? Because I mentioned Ryan Moore. I'm actually going to go back to a guy. Where is he? He's 240 for that. What's he for the other one? I probably don't want to play him at 55-1. Where's the top? No, they're not even offering me my top 40 market right now. So it's going to be top 20. I guess they're not going to go top 40 in a 60-man field or wherever the hell it is. I'm going to take Jake Knapp, top 20 at plus 240. We saw this a little bit earlier in the year, and this is actually what gave me some encouragement. He had a very, very, very poor performance on Sunday going in with the co-lead, or the outright leader, at Byron Nelson. And it was very reminiscent of what we saw in Mexico, where he had this 4-stroke lead and it immediately evaporated because he was hitting double crosses all over the place. And then people got scared off of him at Honda, and he performed great at Honda. He kept the ball striking going. He kept the putting going. He kept the chipping going. The one thing I noticed with Knapp throughout the course of the week at Byron Nelson was you think that he would dominate there was 2 really short par 4s, and one of them he actually did pretty well on. The one on the back nine, number 14, I think, but number 6 it was also a really short one, and he would have been better off hitting 7-iron into that hole because he would hit it to like 43 yards, flub the chip to like 20 feet, and not make the putt. It's like, guy, this isn't your strong suit. We see this with Ludvig all the time, too. Sometimes he gets to courses where he just hits it too close to the hole for whatever reason, and he just, like, yanks his wedges left and ends up in the rough. Whereas if he was like 185 away, he would just hit something to the center of the green. It's really bizarre with some of these guys. And one thing I like about Knapp is that he's probably very unlikely to be the 54-hole leader at Quail Hollow, so that pressure of leading an event on Sunday is probably not going to get to him. But I mentioned full send off the tee with Sahith. Every course that we've seen so far with Jake Knapp, where you can go driver and kind of spray the ball around. I mean, it's weird that he did so well at Honda, but he just drove the ball very effectively that week in general and avoided the water. But, you know, Torrey Pines, Mexico, last week. I would say that Quail Hollow I mean, it's not similar to Mexico or last week, but it is somewhat similar to Torrey Pines, where you don't have to hit the fairway, just avoid the water. If he can do that this week, I think the rest of his game is clicking enough where he's actually a really nice fit for this course, Byron.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about all these long irons that they're going to be hitting in here, he's ultra powerful out the rough. I mean, that's what you're looking for. The rough's not the longest out here, but it's still penal because you're coming in from so far away. So for him, hitting a 6-iron, it's going to be easy peasy for him. So I love him, Pat. I'm just a little worried about his ability to like really shine in these big boy events so far. I think if you take a look at his track record, he's really shone in, when the lights aren't the brightest. But he's finding himself in these positions, and he's got a really interesting and powerful swing that doesn't look it. And I'm just waiting for him to get that under control on Sundays because he's so fun to watch. It's effortless, it's beautiful, it's majestic. I want to see him on my TV on Sundays way more than like Matt Wallace or somebody like that. I think it's all nap time, and it's I love it. So let's go.
Yeah, he has had a very poor start to the signature events. He was 57th at Bay Hill. He was 45th at the Players. He was 55th at the Masters. He was 62nd at the RBC Heritage. I would not expect the Heritage or the Players, realistically, Ben, to be a good course for him. And his Bay Hill was really weird because it was like 3 holes. I think it was number 6 every single day. He just like kept putting it into the water on that hole. But if you just took out his like one blow up hole each of the days, he actually played kind of well.
And you get that, you talked about your made up market. Like he's that type of guy where he could lose an insane amount off the tee. He could unravel, but those are somewhat outliers. And yeah, he kind of reminds me of Fratelli a little bit where it's always something, but he has it all at the same time. And when it syncs up, he can win. And when it doesn't, you're just like, wow, he's 8 over through 2 holes. And you get some of that with Nap, but I think we're starting to see he's more comfortable in this. And yes, the Farmers data point is definitely one of the strongest that we have for him.
Yeah, well, what would be, do you think, the data points to look at here if you were trying to do some comp courses with this Byron? Like, I think Riv sticks out like a sore thumb, and then it would be Torrey Pines, like just those two. And when I start to think about those two, weirdly, Mexico is kind of next on the list for that like middle to lower tier player that finds himself in this field.
Yeah. The other two are all Madden settings, and then Mexico's like novice. You just throw that in there. It's basically the same layout, just way easier settings. So I'm on board. And those are literally the only 2 courses I have as my 2 comp courses this week is Riv and Torrey South. So you nailed it there, Pat.
So, I mean, Knapp was able to do it. Is Nikolai not playing this week? Or did I just miss him? He's not. Where the hell is Nikolai Højgaard?
And Keith Mitchell. Also not playing this week, by the way. Yeah. Nikolai's just not been playing well enough on his exemptions. He's just not brought the heat yet. I think he's never played. He played nicely at Torrey and then made it into the Masters signature because of his second, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then he
played his world ranking, I'd imagine.
Yeah, he finished like close to top 10 at the Masters, didn't he? Didn't he come 11th?
I don't know.
I remember he was winning for a while, and then he just kind of went away the moment he started winning. I guess you're kind of a perfect guy to talk to about this, about like the actual player mentality, because we've seen this a few times now throughout the course of the past few weeks. And I think Jake Knapp is kind of a perfect example of what we saw, a guy going in with the lead, and it kind of crushed his entire round. And it's happened to him twice now on tour. He was able to rally back because no one besides Wacky Valimaki provided much of a challenge for him in Mexico, and he was able to have a C- round and still pull out a victory. That was not the case this time last week at the Byron Nelson. But we saw Pendrith, the moment he got into the lead, he started playing pretty crappy, and then he got out of the lead and started playing much better. Ben Coles was, lightning in a bottle until he took the lead, and then the pressure hit him. We saw it with Zach Blair and that other guy, Morpheus, that he played with at the Zurich, just the moment that they got into the lead. When you're playing from behind and 2 down, you can go just fire at pins. It's easy peasy. Who cares if you miss it? You're playing to win. The moment you have to protect that lead, it just seems like not everyone, these guys just all tighten up in these circumstances. Am I reading too much into this because it's just what I've seen the past few weeks, or do you actually think that's a real thing?
Well, we've got so many people that are responsible for being in those positions way more often than normal that are no longer here. So we're seeing these guys find themselves a lot more randomly just vying for the lead. And it feels like a horse race to me almost. You just got to catch a guy lucky. And if he's in the second to last group, I'm almost more excited about that than the guy being in the final group because of the nerves. Just the feeling of being in that final group is, some people thrive off it, some people die off it. Nap does not like being in that final group. I had a Nap ladder, top 5, top 10, top 20 last week. And if he goes off in that second to last group, that top 5 cashes every single week. I just don't see him sucking as bad as he did in that final group, Pat. So you're right. I think we've seen a lot of guys. I mean, that Cole's choke was on the moon, man. It was brutal.
I always mention this it's funny because he ended up winning the Masters, but we always kind of speculated, Ben, that if Sergio was ever going to win a major, that he was going to play in like the fourth to last group, because every time that he ended up in the final group, he just was absolutely abysmal. I can't remember if him and Rose were the final group or not. I think that they were that year, but there was 4 of them that were tied for the lead going into the final day of Augusta. And I thought he was dead on 13 when he hit it over the creek into the woods and somehow grinded for par out of there to completely change the round.
Yeah, obviously, I always think if my man Tommy ever grabs one, he's going to post at like 8 a.m. on Sunday, and then just a hurricane comes in and he just ends up winning. There's something to that. It's just at some point it's hard to know because as Byron said, there are other guys that are fueled by that. They want that on them, and we've seen kind of like Wyndham Clark comes to mind, and turns out he's really good, but he did not shy away from that. So it is a mixed bag. I tend to think, if you can not have the spotlight on you to that magnitude, it's probably a good thing if you're just getting started.
I can see it. Bronze selections for both Myrtle Beach and Wells Fargo. Ben, do you have a Myrtle Beach, or are you just sticking with Wells Fargo this week?
I'm going to just stick with Wells Fargo here. I'm going to go to the matchup market again. Is that fair game? Can I do that for the rules?
Anyways, if you want to make an outright one of your best, you can do that. So most definitely a head-to-head is fair.
I'm just going to short Spieth. I'm going with Benny on -120 over Jordan Spieth. I wanted to get some exposure to Benny. He's kind of in the Noren bucket of the outrights have been returning -100%, but he still has a lot of markets where he's succeeded. He was great last week, and I think we've seen with Spieth, he can turn it on, but he's not at the height of his powers. So at this spot, if you want to take a Riv comp, On was really good at Riv this year. Hit that top 20. I thought that type of mentality can translate here. If he puts up something like that, I'll live with it if Spieth hunts me down at -120. So I like Benny On, particularly in this matchup with Spieth, who I'm not super confident in this week.
I don't understand how Spieth continues to be priced at these levels, Byron.
It's name value, literally. And I love what Ben's doing here because he's playing like he's got 17 kids, but it's only 2 right now, I think. And it's not good. And his game's just gone off the deep end, man. It's weird. He'll show some form and then out of nowhere, he just forgets what he's doing and just implodes. So a matchup against Jordan Spieth is literally the perfect market, Ben. Love that. Almost as much as the Xander pick, So loving the volatility you're getting there. So
what's weird about Spieth, and you would not think this at all, like his approach play and his chipping have been abysmal for about 2 months now. He's actually driving the ball really well for him.
That's what you get when you're a dad. Like, it's that dad strength. It's just like you just bomb T-balls and suck the rest of the way. That's literally how I play golf.
It's not like
I'm not a dad.
But it's not like he's played this tournament a ton either. Obviously, he played it in the 2017 PGA Championship. He came T32 in 2013 when he played here, and then he hadn't played it in 10 years and came and missed the cut last year. And I think, Ben, you're onto something that he just never played this event until forced to play it because it's not. He played pretty well at the President's Cup 2 years ago at Quail Hollow, I suppose. But this course just doesn't feel like it's set up for him, especially with because there is a big difference, I think, between setup. I remember talking to Moose about this. I went down and I played Hazeltine with him. He's the member there. And he was telling me just the difference between how the setup was for the Ryder Cup versus when they had the PGA Championship there. And the rough was that long for the PGA Championship. Or when the Women's US Open was there, it was a super long rough. He's like, they don't basically even have rough at the Ryder Cup because they wanted to benefit the Americans and so they can hit it as far as possible and just make outrageous his shots from the rough and go score. They want it to be a more exciting tournament rather than a USGA type setup. Not that this is a USGA type setup, but as Byron mentioned, that even though he's gaining strokes off the tee right now, a lot of that is with accuracy. The distance is plus at the moment, but it's not an elite tier. That he's going to have some longer irons coming into this. We know he's not the most powerful guy with a 5-iron in his hand versus a Rory or a Wyndham Clark type player. That this could go for him south very quickly. We've seen the big blow up numbers over and over and over. This feels like the perfect course to make an 8.
Absolutely, and I just think in general, there's normally a reason why a guy doesn't play an event, a pretty solid event, for that long. And I think it's because it doesn't fit kind of his skill set, and he's almost forced into it here. I'm not super confident in the recent form. So, we know Spieth can ceiling it, but in a matchup, I don't really care about that. I'm talking about, median outcomes. And I think more often than not, he's going to hit some of those blowups, and we're going to have a good chance to cash this ticket.
Fun fact about Ben An, which I did not realize, second in driving distance gained in this field over the past 50 rounds.
He's been moving it.
Those Korean pharmacies, they work wonders, man, I tell you.
Bronze pick for you, Byron.
I just want to confirm, Pat, what is the highest bet that's been cashed so far? Because I'm eyeing that. That's like my golden goose, I'm trying to hunt this unicorn down. And I think it was it the 600 that Cam did for Scotty?
No, that was plus 450. He had Scotty top American at Bay Hill at plus 450. Turns out he could have just bet him outright and hit that one as well. I'm trying to think of what the best one was. Yeah,
we can figure it out. But
my Taylor Moore top 20 at the Masters was not that high. That was like 4-1 or something like that. So yeah, I think we're looking at plus 450 has been the highest hit so far.
Right. Ricky Fowler, top 5, plus 900. Off the top rope, let's go. Going back to Quail, this guy loves this golf course, and we're seeing a sprinkling of Ricky Fowler form returning back to this planet, going back to a place that he loves. I think I'll take a chance on Ricky at plus 900. I think we're starting to see some stuff. I think taking a look at his granular strokes gained approach numbers, they're starting to trend really nicely over the last 6 rounds. So it's looking good for the Big Rick, and plus 900 is a very hefty number for a top 5 at a golf course he's had a lot of success at in the past.
Did anyone come and teach him how to drive the golf ball? Because he has forgotten how to do that. The last time that he gained more than a stroke off the tee was when he won at Rocket Mortgage last year.
I don't care. It's Quail Hollow. He's going to feel comfortable. This is the thing. You go to these places and you play well at these courses. He's also plus 900. It's all good.
All right. Is that with ties or without ties?
That's at Bet365. So that's got ties. So you could probably find without ties in the 4-digit numbers there.
All right. I'm going to go to Myrtle Beach for my pick. So some of the ones that just missed for me, I was actually looking at Taylor Moore again here for a top 20. And in this market, that would be plus 210. I looked at Higo, top 20 at Myrtle Beach for plus 230. Ryan Moore, plus 275 for a top 20. Lonto, plus 190 for a top 30. But I'm just going to go with the guy who's been playing some good golf, has played well in these alt field events. Obviously, this course is going to be a little bit different as it's not in the Caribbean. But at Myrtle Beach, I bet him to win, so I might as well bet him top 20 as well for the best bet show. Justin Lauer, plus 190 to come inside the top 20. He's just, he's even played well, and he played well at Bay Hill. He just hits a ton of greens of regulation. He can kind of putt. That's kind of good enough for some of these alt events.
Yeah, he's playing really well now, and it's interesting to see him come so far. Right, he was the guy that we saw at the Wyndham miss a putt and just hold his head in his hands because he was the bubble boy to make the top 125, and then I think someone lived to live, and then he made it. But that's how far he's come, right? This guy's literally now, we're betting him to win tournaments after he was literally just trying to keep a tour card. So very proud of what he's come to be, and love that bet, Pat. He's just playing good golf in general.
Yeah, to kind of do a bit of a deeper dive on him in terms of the stats, in terms of my strokes gained model, he comes out number 6 overall. He's top 10 in putting. He's top 25 in approach. He hits enough fairways that hopefully he can keep himself out of the water. But, he was top 25 last week. He was top 5 at Corrales. He was top 25 at Valero. Like, he's been right around that. Or maybe top 30 should have been the bet because he's come top 30 in 4 straight events. Maybe I'll have to amend that. But he's been gaining at least 2 strokes on the green, at least 2 strokes on approach. He's chipping it well, and he's breaking even off the tee, which sometimes that's good enough for this quality of event, Ben.
You're not going to find a ton of guys where it's like they're doing, if they're doing everything spectacular, they'd be playing at Wells Fargo probably.
Yeah.
And so you have to live with some of that. And I like guys that, again, I hate to get into mindset, but guys like that, they seem like they are focused, hungry. These events, they don't gloss over them. And when the game is clicking, I tend to buy even on as it's incrementally on the upswing rather than with better players a lot. I try to, catch them in a depression, in a low point and buy low. But with some of guys like that, I say just kind of keep going because it seems like the game is just only expanding.
There were 2 guys in the Myrtle Beach field that and it's funny because Paul brought him up before the show and he rates out number 1 in the numbers that I'm looking at. Should we just be blindly backing Kelly Craft at 80-1, Ben?
I mean, I am not able to talk about Kelly Craft. That guy's cost me a lot of money over the years. Didn't even know he's appearing. So him and Sun Kang are appearing in tournaments on Saturday. They're just not in the field. And then on Saturday, they're inserted in like 7th. And no one seems to have a problem with that. So I shout out to Kelly Craft, but maybe what a world that Kelly Craft is just grinding and getting in the hunt. Never thought that in a million years.
I bet him somewhere during the swing season because he was doing this. It was, hey, like he can't really drive, but he's making a ton of putts. And when his approach game gets good, Byron, it gets really good. Like he's sneakily like one of the better approach players. Yeah, I bet him at the one the EVR won in Mexico because at Sanderson Farms, he gained 6.3 strokes on approach. The following week in Vegas at Summerlin, he gained 7.5 strokes on approach. Like, how could he ever stop doing this? And then he just kind of disappeared for a while. Then he plays the Zurich with Kevin Tway, plays really well, and then gained 6.4 strokes on approach last week. So maybe he can keep it going. Didn't make a putt last week at all. He lost 3 strokes on the green. So maybe he is someone to look at here. Or even Kevin Tway, who just appeared from, I don't know what he ended up finishing last week, but he was in my best lineup.
Would never think of Kelly Craft as a really good iron player, but if you can spike a few like that, and he's typically hard on the greens, and that's what you need to win tournaments. So, I mean, this is an alternate field event again. Like literally anyone can win this thing if it's not like going to follow the narrative we spoke about earlier. Someone's got to win it. So why not Kelly?
I guess so. I'm trying to look at Kevin Tway has back-to-back top 10s.
He's playing good. Yeah. Kevin Tway last week, I got to a little as well, and he's just back in business. Disappeared for 5 years, but he's back.
And he's in the Wells Fargo field, right?
That's unfortunate.
I think that he is. Yeah, he is in the Wells Fargo field.
Wow.
He's $6,200 on DraftKings. I think I like that. Maybe first round leader for Kevin Tway. What does that pay? That should be that. Maybe I'll cross out Lauer and end up making Kevin Tway
your gold pick.
Gold pick Kevin Tway 500-1.
Titanium pick.
Let's see where is first round leader here? Do they have that market open? Did you guys look at the weather at all yet?
Thundery on Thursday afternoon, as far as I remember.
What is it on Thursday afternoon? Thunder?
Thunderstorms, from what I've gathered.
Great. Fantastic.
Yeah, fun times.
I did see that there was going to be a tornado just outside of Charlotte on Wednesday evening, Ben. They probably won't play in that. But they're not playing on Wednesday anyway, so who cares?
No. Yeah, that's not the ticket. So we'll see. Hopefully they can get one round, one time through on one single day. Lofty goals, I know.
That's tough. I don't know if they can do that. There's only 70 guys in the field too, but somehow they'll find a way not to get any of the rounds in. I don't know how this happens for them. Can we get rid of the 70-man no-cut events? These suck. I hate these.
Is anyone less out of their way than the PGA Tour? Like, it's Johnny Manziel-esque stuff, what they're doing right now. It's like they have not read the playbook. They've not figured out what to do to give the fans what they need. They're not giving the players what they need. They are, but only some of them. It's just, come on. I mean, what are we doing? Just cut 10 people. It makes it fun. Like literally just cut 10 guys. Don't give them the money. Like you can't just show up here for a freaking silver spoon in your mouth. Like it's the PGA Tour. It's a competitive event. It's not the freaking Pro Bowl, man. You know, like this isn't what we're trying to do. Yeah.
And there was all the discussion about Live, and part of the reason why I feel like Live doesn't connect, Ben, is because it's the same guys every week. And this is what the PGA Tour is becoming. And I get you want to showcase your stars, but if they're just, playing against each other every single time, like that's not fun either. Like, yeah, it's fun to watch, all year to see if we can get the Knicks and Celtics in a 7-game series in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's what you play towards. It would be less fun if they played every week.
Yeah, there is now not even just for DFS, but I can't stress how much different I treat a tournament when it's even like the Masters cut, where it's like, okay, 70% of the field's getting through, but somebody, you have to pay attention on Thursday and Friday. Now it's just like, whatever, I really, really think they should just cut something, have some type of distinction to give people an incentive to grind and an incentive to tune in on Friday. Like I love a cut sweat and we just don't get that anymore. It's really unfortunate.
I mean, it's not even really about the cut sweat. I just think adding a more diverse field to everything would just inherently make this a more watchable product. Like, let's just take the top 30 guys that are in Myrtle Beach right now, make it a 100-man field or make it a 90-man field and cut down to top 50. You cut 40 guys from the field, and maybe you do lose Xander. Maybe you lose Rory. Well, did anyone really want to see them play all that much? They were playing like shit anyway? No.
Just add Bill Hassan. Honestly, you just need to add one guy, and that would fix the whole thing.
All right. Well, that will do it. To recap the picks this week, because I always forget to do this, and then I forget to post them. So here they are. Maybe I'll start adding them to the description. Maybe that would be very helpful for people. Let's find out. I have Sahith, even money, top 20 as my gold. Jake Knapp, top 20, plus 240. And then at Myrtle Beach for my bronze, Justin Lauer, plus 190 to finish inside the top 20. Ben goes Noren, plus 130, top 20. Xander, top 10, even money. Ben Ann over Jordan Spieth, minus 120. Byron has Xander, top 10. That's the pick of the week, apparently, at even money. Tom Hoagie, top 20 at plus 180. Ricky Fowler, top 5, 9-1. You really want to get that big one, don't you?
Hunting that whale, baby. My Moby Dick. It's going to be Ricky Fowler at Quail. Let's go.
Do you guys have any outrights in yet? Because I mentioned I have Lauer at Myrtle Beach. And I got Hideki at 30, Cam Young at 35, Zalatoris at 55, and I might add on Thigala at 30 now that he's dropped to 30. Ben, have you bet anyone outright? Noren and Ben Ann?
I bet
probably?
Decky. Yeah, I bet Ben Ann and I bet Decky. I might add one or two more. Honestly, I don't do this a lot. I'm considering betting Xander. I really just love everything about Xander here, and I know it's a short number, and I'm not sure I will ultimately do it, but man, do I like Xander this week.
Better bet, Byron. Rory to win at wherever the hell he's at, plus 750, or Rory first round leader, 16-1.
Ooh, the 16-1 first round leader. I mean, especially on a wet golf course if it's going to be raining, right?
Yeah, that might be the bet. Bet him and Kevin Tway, and you have both ends covered. Who are you?
That spectrum and just fold it in half, baby. I've got Wyndham Clark as well with Sahith. I've got a bit more space to add. I might do a Max Homa edition. I'll see. I'm struggling to pull the trigger this week. The board is interesting, and I don't know where to go. So I've got a Wyndham and Sahith situation going on right now.
One name that hasn't come up on any of the shows that I've done, be it the research show, talking with Jeff. I actually listened to Joe and Jeff on the Preferred Lines last night. I'll be listening to you and Kenny a little bit later on. And Ben, I don't know if it's come up for you, but has anyone uttered the name Russell Henley yet this week? I'm going to take that as a no.
Where is he?
He's 50-1. He's the same number as Shane Lowry.
It's not a good course for the Sex Panther, though. And he's not even Sex Panther anymore because he's not inside the top 20, 60% of the time. Like, it's not even happening every time. So his game's gone to shit. It's like
that's
it's
not
weird.
That's not true though, because he's had some nice results this year. He's 4th at Sony, 4th at Bay Hill, 4th at Valero. He was T12 the last time that we saw him at Heritage. And like, yes, Heritage and Sony make a lot of sense. They're a part of like the Russell Henley circuit. But like Bay Hill? He's played the Masters pretty well. He plays the U.S. Open pretty well. Sometimes he plays these long, hard courses really well. I don't know if I want to bet him to win, but I was more thinking maybe I'll bring this up with Tambo on the DraftKings shows that it just feels like no one wants a piece of him this week. He's been pretty good.
But he hasn't played well yet, right? So
he's been terrible here, but
yeah,
it's. I honestly didn't even. He's someone I would have been complaining that they inserted into the tournament. So now I'm glad that you brought him up because I glossed right over him.
Yeah, in the short term, he's top 5 tee to green. And to look at his struggles at this course in the past, they've mainly been putting.
which has come back a bit, right? So that's, I mean, who knows what happens, yeah. But don't force it, Pat.
I'm not going to bet him outright. I was just trying to think about, because the odds aren't good. They're 50-1, and you just, it's funny.
Maybe top 5?
Yeah, top 5, top 10, something like that. Maybe,
yeah.
Maybe just a solid piece of like a DraftKings single entry lineup, Ben.
Yeah, he could have some utility in some different forms. Where now I'm struggling to find. Where do you know where he is price wise?
On DraftKings?
Oh, here he is, 83.
Yeah. I mean, he's $100 less than Jordan Spieth, but you would bet a head-to-head Henley over Spieth, no problem, wouldn't you?
Oh, definitely.
And he's in a sweet spot because Noren and Ben Ann, who are both ahead of him in odds, are $100 and $200 less than him on DraftKings, and they're going to soak up all that ownership, and you're going to get like a 5% Russell Henley, who's probably a better player than both these guys.
Definitely leverage in that form, because there's no doubt, and you got like JT and those guys right above him, so he could get lost in the shuffle there. Interesting.
He was a name that I just kept coming across because you'd think that he would be. When I went to go look for him, I started to look in like the Corey Connors and a bit lower than that range, like where Sung Jae's at, but he's not. He's just solidly 50-1. We didn't mention Shane Lowry either, coming off a win.
You mean a 72-hole piggyback ride?
Half a win.
Half a win. But the ball striking continues to be good. I was stunned he made that 2-foot putt to clinch the playoff berth for them. Like I was just like, he's gonna miss this. This is what he does. But now here he is. He's had some disastrous putting performance recently. Like the Masters was really bad. Heritage was somehow even worse. Like the moment you think it can't get worse on the greens for Shane Lowry, it does. But again, this is a course, Byron, where we've seen bad putters do well.
Right. And this is it. Like this is the kind of venue for a Shane Lowry. Like just pound fairways, pound greens, and just 2-putt your way to victory if you can, you know. I just don't believe Shane Lowry is capable of winning a tournament without someone holding his hand, you know. So on US soil at least.
Yeah, so I guess spoiler for the DraftKings show tomorrow is that Henley and Lowry, so 83 and 7,600 are going to be two of my favorite plays, I think. Ugh. That's not great. Anyway, that will do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. Byron, you are going to be joining me for the PGA Championship player-by-player breakdown. I'm excited for that. See what you got. We always try to mix and match people on this one. It's going to be me and you. We're going to argue about each of the players, try to set like a time limit, a minute on each player, try to bang through as many as possible. I'm excited for this. Have you started a lot of Valhalla research yet?
Yes, I was doing it in my bathroom right here with the fart fan with my dog last night while we were trying to survive a tornado watch. And no, Pat, I've done nothing. So I'm going to show up even more tired than I was this morning. But I'm going to bring the heat, baby. I'm so excited for this. I can't wait to just... This is what I do. My Sunday night research stream on Sunday nights, I do this stuff. So we're going to do expedited version of it. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'll have my research show out on Sunday morning. I think that show will drop either Friday afternoon or Saturday morning. Ben, I wanted to extend to you an invite to this show next week for the PGA Championship on Tuesday morning if you have the time to do it and if your ceiling hasn't killed you.
I'll be back, God willing. I will be in a normal accommodation, and I'm looking forward to it. So, yeah. This is good because this is what I did. I set the tone. The bar is very low right now. And then for the major, it looks like I improved my setup, but I actually just went back to what it normally looks like. So I couldn't be more excited to check out your guys, the player by player. I will be watching. Can't wait for that. I just can't wait for for that week. One of my favorites of the year.
Yeah, the PGA Championship has really elevated itself to be, and not that it was always a major, but it was always like the major. Now it's like, hey, this is like a real test we got going on. One of the better fields
awesome.
as well. Were you guys surprised that they let Gooch and who the hell was the other guy? David. I could see letting David Puig in, but were you surprised that those were the two that got the invitations to the PGA Championship, Byron, and not like Louis and Burmeister?
Yeah. The Gooch invitation needed to happen last year when he was doing the stuff that Gooch was doing the year before that. You know, like he was on form. Like, well, he's done nothing apart from being a complete dumbass, you know, the last little while. So, you know, I guess maybe they want people to watch. So it's always going to be like this when they pick things up subjectively, you know.
Well, it's funny because Cust was all about it because you know how much he loves Liv, Ben. And he was like, well, he's won 3 times in the past year. It's like, that is not true. He has not won 3 times in the past year. You're thinking about this time last year when that was the case. He's won once, and it was just snuck it in below I think he won at the end of June or something like that. It's been a while since Gooch was like the new hot thing on Liv. He's been kind of not mediocre. He's been better than average, but he has not been nearly as good as Louis been or Burmeister.
No, I mean, as truly every time I see him on the old Twitter feed or anything else, it's not for doing things on the course. It's just for comments. So yeah, I mean, obviously, come on. I think we know they should get Louis before anyone, but certainly interesting choices, and we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. But overall, couldn't be more excited for this specific PGA.
Yeah, and like David Puig makes a ton of sense to get in. Like he would, I don't know if he was on the PGA Tour, I don't know if he'd be treating him like Ludvig, but he would have been in that prospect type tier coming up. And he went and he won an Asian Tour event. And that's what I found really weird about it. That they let Neiman in because obviously he was playing really well on Liv, but he also went to the Australia Open and won that. And he's been playing different Asian Tour events to try to get qualified and get official world golf ranking points where you can't get them on Liv. Gooch has done nothing of the sorts to try to do that. But again, Louis and Burmeister, I mean, between them, they have 3 DP World Tour wins in the past 6 months. Or Sunshine Tour, whatever the hell they're calling those events that happen in South Africa, but they went and they're playing in these other events to try to qualify. I thought that if there were exemptions to be had, Byron, that it would have been given to the guys that actually tried to qualify for these things, not someone who was just sitting at home crying on Twitter.
Absolutely. It's so sad to see that, you know, like we're trying to just do the stuff where the guys that need to try and make it are trying to do this due diligence and they're not being rewarded for it. And then, you know, Gooch just shows up and gets the A on the team project after just tweeting, you know, pretty much the whole night away. So
is this it for him though? Like if he has a bad PGA Championship this time around, he's never really played all that well in majors. Ben is like no more exemptions for him. Like he's going to be like he kind of has to play well here to save his reputation.
Yeah, I think he's used up his kind of free squares or passes. So, and hey, that's the point to make. Like, I totally respect guys that are like, okay, I'm gonna showcase myself in the situation. I'm gonna go to and do these extra things to kind of prove that I belong. He's done literally the opposite of that in every way, and that to me kind of speaks volumes.
Yeah, and if we only ever get to see him on Liv, it's sort of, I mean, we know that Brooks is good. Like, if it was me, and maybe just they want to reward him because there was such, you know, fervor around it, but I don't think Patrick Reed's in this event. I don't think that Sergio is in this event. Like, I would have given it to those guys. Abe Answer. Like, and maybe that's just my bias thinking, like, when I used to compare them when they all played together on the PGA Tour. Gooch has been way better than all those guys since they've went to Liv. But if I was thinking about, like, the quality of player that goes into it, and if you're the PGA Championship and you want to, quote unquote, get eyeballs or get names, like those guys are bigger names than Taylor Gooch is. Guy doesn't even have a Y in his name, just an L. It's real weird to spell. Don't like it.
And his best finish, he's got a 14th and a 20th in 2022 Masters. Like, that's it. Like, it's been bad every other major. It's like, we need to see something, buddy, or you're going to just get kicked out the restaurant. It's go time.
All right. That'll do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. Rate and review the podcast while you're here. Smash like and sub to the channel. We got a bunch of new shorts that are coming out. You can follow us on Instagram for that, or check out the shorts on YouTube. Our TikTok account is now flourishing with just the best of from these shows. Whether it's me, whether it's Paul, Cody, Jeff, Byron, and Kenny are popping up on there as well. We got it all covered for you. So please go subscribe to those social channels as well. FantasyNational.com/Mayo will not only get you 20% off, if you get the weekly membership on Wednesday, you get 3 tournaments for the price of 1, including the PGA Championship. So if you're ever on the fence, go do that now. And along with all the tools, you get the best leaderboard app in the game, which you will only use to track golf from this point forward. All right? I'm Pat Mayo. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!